Yeah, so hopefully, guys, that gives you a good idea on how tiger safaris work, how it's different, how you can sell to your clients. Real quickly, we just want to show you the breadth of different properties that Amit and his team can offer. Yes, they do own properties in Bandhavgarh, Kench, and Kana, but they will book just about everyone that works well for your clients. So for instance, in Bandhavgarh, you have different options from 5-star like the Mahua Koti in Taj, or a little bit more actually I kind of like the Samoan Safari Lodge, to be honest. That's got a really good vibe, very homey, local, you can call it a chain, right? It's a local chain because they do have that property, other properties around India, but it's not quite as corporate's probably not the right word, but it's not quite as corporate as the Taj hotels. It's got just really homey feel to it. So you can see that there are different levels that you can offer. But this is a good shot of Bandhavgarh Jungle Lodge. It's the first lodge that we stayed in. It's super comfortable right there in the jungle. Kind of in the evening you have your fire in that boma setting. So it does give you that warm feeling, and the hospitality, especially at this place, is superb and top notch.
And it's one of the first lodges built in Bandhavgarh, if not the first lodge. And I think Amit said a lot of the staff have been there for almost the entire 20 plus years, 30 years. So that speaks to the hospitality, as Mark said.
And then moving on to Kana, similar thing, Banjartola, which is a Taj property. Actually, it was just so for some of you that might know the brand and Beyond, this used to be an and Beyond property until they pulled out, and now it's a Taj property. But you can kind of see a lot of and Beyond elements when they came into India and start building these properties. So you do have that 5-star property there. We also like Singinawa, which is probably just slightly below that, but also very nice and well decorated. Food is amazing. But one of our favorites, Amit's Lodge, Kana Jungle Lodge. We love it here because you're hosted by Dimple and Tarun, and they can, she's not just a naturalist, she'll also show you how to cook and make masala chai. So we really enjoyed that interactive experience with her and her family. And then moving on to Pench, you also have, once again, the Pench Tree Lodge. You can stay at a property like that or another Taj. Or our favorite, of course, which is Jamtara Wilderness Camp. He's also got a sleep out there. One of our fan participants, actually a couple of them, tried the sleep out and absolutely loved it. The setting is just gorgeous. Under that, the campfire is right under that banyan tree, but it's probably the closest camp that we saw that reflects a lot of what you would have seen in Africa. So very similar in terms of style, but I would say the hospitality is just a little bit warmer here, huh?
Yeah, incredible decor as well. Amit can tell the story, or we can send you a link to past webinars that tell the story of Jamtara, the recycling of different types of furniture from the U.S. Embassy, taking old decks from scrapped boats to use as his flooring, and then all of these little elements that he's picked up over the years, having traveled to Africa 10 plus times, as he said. You can see those woven into this lodge, and then the community-based aspect of it, as you can see right here. It's in that buffer zone. It is on community land, and you really do get a sense of being part of something bigger, being part of a community when you're staying at Pench. Whether you go into the village or not, I think the village is something really special, though, to have that experience, to meet. We went to a house from one of the staff members from Jamtara. They gave us a tour of their homestead, gave us some tea. We got to taste some fruit from their garden, and then we went to the local market. We happened to be there on market day, and again, as Mark showed earlier, pictures of some of the Jamtara staff shopping for vegetables and food for our dinner that night. So and it happened to be a holiday as well, as you can see in that picture in the lower left. Speaking of selfies, people loving selfies, for whatever reason, we were kind of local celebrities and were asked for a lot of selfies as we were walking back to camp, which was kind of a fun experience. It happened to be my birthday too, and that's a long story that I'll tell any of you that you want to later. But Amit and his team pulled off a really incredible birthday surprise for me that involved a tiger and champagne, and I'll leave it at that.
That's right. All right, cool. We're almost there. So what do you do next? Where do you put these parks in your itinerary, right? So we'll show you 3 different sample itineraries that you can pitch to your clients. The most popular probably being our wildlife plus culture. So this is a really easy golden triangle of Delhi, Agra, and Jaipur, combining those 3 parks that we talked about. Amit, would you say this is your more or less the bread and butter?
Yeah, I mean, if people want to do an itinerary and they have the time, let's say 12 to 14 days, which is about 2 weeks minimum to do, then, covering the Golden Triangle, because everybody wants to tick off the Taj Mahal, they will land in Delhi and Jaipur, they want to do one cultural city, then sort of this works as the Golden Triangle, and then we can get them into one of the national parks, at least do 2, if not 3 of the national parks. That gives enough diversity of seeing tigers, wild dogs, maybe sloth bears, depends on the time of the year. To be able to get a more experience, because there is another, and Mark, you want to jump to the next program as well, the one with Ranthambore? Let's jump to the next one, then we'll come back to this one. So there is another national park here called Ranthambore, which you have seen in all itineraries throughout, whoever's marketing India. Ranthambore is definitely a very successful park as well. It's just a lot, and we sell quite a bit of Ranthambore, just because people don't have the time. So if you do Delhi, Jaipur, Agra, which is the Golden Triangle of India, and just want to throw in a tiger, the person does not really care about the experience of wildlife being like Africa, then Ranthambore works, because you hopefully will see tigers. There's great properties in Ranthambore, from Amans to you name it, they have it, the Oberois, and but it's crowded. You sometimes have 10, 20-seater canter trucks, which are inside the park as well. Of course, we will book you on a Jeep when you're there. But the point is, it's a much more crowded experience because it's a victim of its own success. It sits in the Golden Triangle. It has amazing tiger sighting. It is a beautiful park, so it ticks all those boxes. But for a comprehensive sort of cultural tour of India, let's say Delhi, Jaipur, Agra, Jodhpur, Udaipur, all the ones that Mark talked about, and you want to just throw in a tiger, just like, oh, I'm in India, might as well see a tiger, then we can absolutely do Ranthambore for that. And if you go back, Mark, for a second, Delhi, Bandhavgarh, Kana, Pench, Satpura. Now, this is a more central India focus, much diversity of wildlife. And people say, how different is one park from the other? That's also important to see, because the landscapes in all these parks are very different from each other. So as they said, Pench is a teak forest, Kana is a sal forest, Bandhavgarh is a mixed forest where you have the Vindhya Hills, the fort, so the landscapes that get formed are very different from each other. Bandhavgarh and Kana are very famous for its tigers, known around the world for their tigers for sure. Even Pench has great tiger sightings, but Pench is very famous for its leopards and wild dogs, for example. And when we get into Satpura, it has an overall, focus on everything: tigers, leopards, wild dogs, and bears. But, one of the best places to see sloth bears is Satpura, excellent for leopards as well. And there are parts of Satpura which are also very good for tigers. So as a good diversity of doing many different things, that's a great comprehensive, program. To do that, and I'm just going to address the questions in the boxes. Well, what time of the year is the best for sloth bears? Generally, March, April, when it starts to get warm, you see more activity by them. And I would definitely focus on Pench or Satpura for them. And no, there's no off-roading allowed in India. Indian tiger reserves are very much, you drive on the routes that are sort of there by the park.
Awesome. Thanks, Amit. Cool. So yeah, those are, call it your meat and potatoes of your itineraries, those 3 that we've shown. And I think what Amit's team is really good at doing is making that itinerary good and turning it into an awesome itinerary by adding these in what we would call enhancements. There are places like, I stayed at Barra Safari Lodge where leopards coexist with the shepherds. You literally have these Rabari shepherds in Rajasthan with their goats, and in that same area you will see leopards. So it's a very, very interesting style of conservation where the predator and I guess its prey sometimes live together. And surprisingly, the Bear Safari Lodge was got a lot of good press, Amit? I didn't really know about them until I went there.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, America, generally North America is not, India is not very well explored in the North American market, to be honest. And the people that generally agents that are selling India, they are sticking to the normal route and not going beyond it just because of knowledge. It's got no other reason that, just they haven't been there or things like that. There are lovely properties, like he just talked about Bera Savai Lodge, huge conservation initiatives. And here we see Sujan Jawai, one of my favorite sort of camps. Again, this is a more private conservancy scenario, with the most amazing landscapes in India with leopards and communities and that red color of the communities living amongst them. So photographically, it's amazing. And you can totally fit that in between two big cities of like Udaipur or Jodhpur, the blue city, and the city with the lake palace. So there are many diverse, every destination in India is a new diverse, experience. And that's what makes it so magical, that it's not mundane. You wake up to something amazing almost every day in every park.
And this is a Relais Chateau property as well, to add to that. And you can also, once again, going back to Rajasthan, you can spice up places like Mehergarh, which is in the middle of the Thar Desert, and it's not an old fort, it's a man-made castle, right? They built this from scratch to make it look like a sand castle. And it's a good place where you can break up, seeing all the forts in the cultural cities, and going out here in the desert to just relax and take in, being in the middle of nowhere.
And this is also one of the best places for Marwari horses, where, if you have clients who love riding, for example, it's an extraordinary place to go in the Rajasthan desert with the communities and go horse riding on the Marwari horses in India.
Yeah, exactly. And other places like this, like Devshri, which I had lunch, in between, if you're driving from Jodhpur to Udaipur, where I was hosted by the family that's have had this, this place for since like 1400s or 15th century. It's amazing. So you get these, kind of the point is, there are a lot of these places that you're never going to find sometimes on the internet, or you never hear about them in publications. And these are the things that Amit's team can suggest to you guys to enhance that experience, so that you're not selling what everybody else is selling.